Come as you are. All right, now we're cooking. Oh, good. In the name of God, who is beloved, vulnerable love, beloved and love overflowing unto all eternity and to every sentient being. Amen. Amen. Merry Christmas. Oh. So a song from Fiddler on the Roof, of all things, came to me. I can't help it. This is what happens. And the song is L'chaim, to life. And I have been preaching long enough now to know that when God whispers something in my ear, write it down. Because number one, it isn't going to stay. It'll be gone. And whether it's a dream or a spark of inspiration during the course of a day or just waking up in the morning, if inspiration or insight strikes you out of the blue, go with it. Write it down. So after preaching for many years of being a practicing Christian and a priest, it seems to me that the birth of the Christ child is God's yes to humanity, in spite of all the ways we may feel life is just too much of a challenge. After thousands of years, many human beings still believe in some kind of power greater than themselves, but somehow that little voice in your head sometimes says that there is a God, but it's far away somewhere, detached from all of our personal issues. And it seems to me that Christmas is precisely the day Christians proclaim and celebrate the fact that God is not a far away God, but a God who is with us. From the Hebrew word Imanu, meaning with us, and El was the northern Israel word for God. Immanuel, God with us. A God who manifests within the birth of every child, whether in peace or during war. A God whose word to humanity is yes, to life, l'chaim, keep going, don't give up. I'm with you through thick and thin. I love you in ways you cannot even imagine. That's what we're celebrating here tonight. And frankly, it's the central message to most of the sermons I preach, because I do believe that is good news. If you're a child hiding in a bombed up bit of rubble in Palestine, Immanuel, God is within you in life and death, loving you from the inside out. If you're a child born to addicts or have become an addict yourself, Immanuel, God is within you in the momentary joys and dark sorrows of neglect or abuse, loving you from the inside out. If you're an elderly person all alone, or any and every holiday, regardless of the religion, Immanuel, God is within you in life and death, loving you from the inside out. If you're a homeless person who has been abandoned by your own family because you aren't the right kind of person they want you to be or have been told you should be, Immanuel, God is within you in life and death, loving you from the inside out. This is the primary story of who our God is, where God is, and why it is that God revealed God's self to us as eternal love energy, and why God came to us simply to love it in person. As Julian of Norwich said, love was God's reason. And not just the sappy, sweet sort of TV love that you see, but a kind of love that makes oneself vulnerable to another. I mean, I know we ignore the cross from time to time, but this is the point of having it here. God makes God's self vulnerable to human beings so that if we want to ignore God, we have that free will. If we want to turn our back on God, we have that free will. If we want to be angry with God, we have that free will. But that doesn't mean that God is going to abandon us. And that's good news. The holidays really can be hard on some folks, particularly when our holidays don't measure up exactly to the family holidays we either grew up with or saw on television. Many of our families are scattered now far and wide, and with a variety of issues all around. This is the first time I won't see any of my kids since 1986. So it is weird. It's just weird, and it does hurt. But to whomever is feeling hurt, or in any kind of grief, or at least a little bittersweet on this holy night, again, God's message to you is l'chaim, to life, because our God has chosen to come among us in tangible form, even when we're alone. We're not alone. Sometimes life is difficult, sometimes even a little disappointing, or sometimes life is just grief-laden. But what I heard this year was God saying, even to me, live, my beloved, live, walk in love as I continue to love you. And this is why we celebrate the birth of God in the Christ child. Even if Jesus may really have been born in the spring, probably not December 25th. Even if his teachings have been twisted and used to be manipulated, to abuse people or neglect people, God's true message is that God has given himself to us and given us his yes to our life in general, and for the ongoing work of justice and peace that we're all called to. So tonight we're celebrating the belief that it's hard to believe, I know, eternity has squeezed itself into what human beings came to refer to as time. Why? So it could experience life in God's own creation and love it through and through. That's why I have in the entryway there's a little table, and there's some pictures there that I print out so people can use them as bookmarks. And one of those pictures I've placed there is a picture of a heart that I drew. And there's a quote from one of my favorite mystics, Thomas Merton, sounding very much like Julian of Norwich, who said, "Love is our true destiny. We do not find the meaning of life by ourselves alone. We find it with one another." Christ is present in you, and if you can't see it, look to your neighbor. Christ is present with them as well. Not just in marriage or any other kind of partnership, but through the manifestation of the divine energy within every person's soul that you come in contact with during the course of the day. Otherwise, as my other favorite mystic, Meister Eckhart, said, "What good is it to me if Mary gave birth to Christ and I do not do the same?" You're all pregnant with the Christ, so to speak. Right? You're all able to give birth to the Christ, the divine love of the universe, by how you treat others. I love the way a particular Christian monk in India put it. He said, "Tonight we celebrate the seed of eternity planted in each one of us. And our purpose while here on earth is to give birth to that divinity or eternity that is within us for others, a birth which is also our own birth into divinity, into eternity. And so when you think about it, you know, another part of this whole Christmas holiday is that we're celebrating the fact that we're in God and God is in us. This priest said, our Christmas is also the Christmas of eternity. Again, eternity is not far off, but present. And it's known by many names. As Christians, we call that, you know, God, the divine, Allah even, as I've said many times, in case anybody's concerned. When I was in Israel worshiping in Ramallah, they called God Allah because it's the Arabic word for God. That's all. So there's a lot more going on, which involves us, funny enough, than just what happened more than 2,000 years ago. Christmas is happening every single day. The birth of Christ is happening through you, the way you treat people, every single day. And that is good news. It means that no matter how many disappointments or successes or illnesses or financial challenges, political changes or challenges or joys that we even experience, God is right there in the middle of the whole mess with us. I think that's good news. Emmanuel, God is with us. Not against others, but with all of us. Because God gathers, God does not scatter. So when you wonder why having a daily prayer life might be important, here's the answer. So that you can practice acknowledging and sometimes even feeling that Emmanuel, that God is within you, no matter how joyful the circumstances may be, no matter how miserable they may be. If you practice it, it will come to you. You will remember in the times that you'll need to. I want you to think on this because later on tonight, I wanted to start something new. And that is that you all got a votive candle. And when we sing Silent Night, Holy Night, and we turn the lights down, and that candle is lit, I want it to remind you that you actually are the light of the world because the Christ lives in you. And if you don't feel it one day, if you don't understand it, you look to your neighbor and you know that Christ is living in them too. So why not you? Why not you? You're going to hold the light of Christ to remind yourselves of Jesus' very own teaching. The light of the world dwells within you. The light of eternity shines from within you. And that's what we're celebrating in 2024. And that's what we've been celebrating for more than 2,000 years. Amen. Amen.